Hello and welcome to another episode of Kingdom News. I'm your host, Gwen Goolsby Tillery, and this week I have a special guest on with me. She's sort of like family, we say. We had that Tillery background in our name, and so I am really excited to have this guest on with us this morning. We actually connected through social media. Gosh, it's been at least 10 years. I would say at least 10 years that we've been connected. And I've watched her grow in so many different ways. And I was watching her last week conduct an interview. And I was like, you know what? I have to get her on. And I wanted to make sure I got her on for this month. So, welcome to the show, Dawn Cunning.
Thank you.
So, Dawn, I know you're a little nervous. Relax. This is going to be good. It's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to all the information that you're going to be able to share with our viewers. So, tell us just a little bit about yourself. Don't give them too much. Just a little bit right now.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dawn Cunning. I am from Chester, Pennsylvania, and I am a two-time kidney transplant survivor. I was diagnosed when I was 17 years old and have dealt with this illness, kidney disease, for the last 23 years. And I am now a certified health kidney coach.
Okay. So, our focus this for this week's show is going to be on Dawn's story of becoming a kidney survivor. I really wanted to make sure that it went out this month because this is National Kidney Awareness Month. So I wanted her to have the opportunity to be able to come on, share her story, highlight the issues that are surrounding kidney disease, the need for donors, and all of that, since this is the month that we celebrate or bring awareness to kidney disease. And so you said you developed kidney disease at the age of 17.
Yes. So I went for my physical for college, and that's when I was diagnosed. They didn't have an actual diagnosis at the time. They just diagnosed me with teenage high blood pressure.
Okay, so you're on your way off to college. You go to get your physical, and they say to you, you have high blood pressure.
Yes. So as a child, I was totally healthy. And on that particular day, when you're in triage and the nurse takes your blood pressure, she made a facial expression that looked as if the reading didn't make sense. But she wrote down a normal blood pressure reading. So once I went in to see the doctor, I mentioned it to the doctor, and the doctor retook my blood pressure. And it was at that moment that she found that my blood pressure was severely high for a teenager.
Okay, so they assume that you just have uh, juvenile or diabetes at a very young age.
Well, I wasn't a diabetic. It
Not,
was
di- sorry, not diabetes, I'm sorry, high blood pressure.
yes, at that moment. But then I was sent over to the ER because my blood pressure was like 220 over 180, which
Wow.
was severely high. So they sent me straight to the ER to get further testing and then also to be put on medication that would lower immediately. And then through the testing, they found out that my kidneys at that moment were just scarred. And then I would have to start seeing a kidney doctor, which is called a nephrologist.
Okay. So, did they give you any indication why, at such a young age, you had already started experiencing issues with your kidneys? Was it something that was genetic? Did they explain anything to you or say anything to you at that point?
At that time, no, because that was 1999. I was actually the youngest patient that nephrologist at the time has ever seen. So he pretty much treated me for high blood pressure. I was allowed to go away to college, but I had to come home every month for treatment and to see him and make sure my blood pressure was lowering. And then they did urine tests, but the protein in my urine started signaling that it was more than just blood pressure. It was kidney related.
Okay. So, it's known that high blood pressure can affect your kidneys.
Yes.
Right. So they were, I guess, I'm trying to paint this picture so people understand. So they were thinking that it was the high blood pressure that was impacting your kidneys,
Yes.
but really it was your kidneys that was causing the issue with the high blood pressure.
Yes. So sometimes it can be reversed. If the kidney disease is caught later on, then it would be the kidney disease that raises your blood pressure. So in my case, back then, again, I had no diagnosis. So they were just trying to treat the symptoms and treat the blood pressure because I was so young. I actually
Right.
didn't get a diagnosis for 23 years later.
Wait, okay, I'm sorry. You didn't get a diagnosis of kidney disease until 23 years later?
No diagnosis for the cause of my kidney disease for
Oh,
23
oh,
years
okay. I
later.
was like, huh? The cause of it. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So we're not going I was like, wait a minute, how did that happen? Okay, so we're not going to get to that part of it yet.
Okay.
So at the point where they realized that this is issue related to the kidneys, what were your next steps?
So my next steps, again, I went away to college and I came home every month just to see the doctor. A month before my last appointment, because everything started looking positive. My creatinine, which is my kidney function, was normal. My blood pressure was under control. So they figured I would just have one more month to visit and then I would be back to normal. I wouldn't have to come see them again. But unfortunately, by the time I made it to that visit, my creatinine was at 10 when normal is 0. So I was at the
Mm.
point where I needed to start dialysis immediately.
Okay, and so you were what, about 18, 19 at this point?
I was 18.
Okay, so you start on dialysis at the very young age of 18.
Yes.
And what happens with dialysis?
So what happens with dialysis is there's two different forms of dialysis. There's a form called hemodialysis where you go to inpatient treatment centers and you get your blood filtered 3 times a day, 3 times a week, I'm sorry. And then there's something called peritoneal dialysis where it actually is like sugar water through saline bag where you can do at home and that's done 7 days a week. Because I was so young, I went straight into inpatient. I was admitted inpatiently, and they inserted surgically what's called a peritoneal dialysis catheter. So that goes in the peritoneum, which is the outside lining of your stomach. That goes
Mm.
there. And then I had to immediately start training to learn how to use the machine. So within a matter of weeks, I had to start dialysis, or it would have been fatal.
Wow, that's a lot at 18. So 18, you start this process and you have to do it every day.
Yes, 7 days a week.
So it's a long process too, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Not at home. It's not. It's actually about 15 minutes. So it works through gravity. So
Okay.
IV pole with like the saline bag. You input the solution, which is basically just sugar water. The sugar water sits in you for 4 hours. So you're unhooked and you're just going about your day. With home dialysis, peritoneal home dialysis, you can either do it during the day, which is 4 different treatments, which lasts, like I said, about 15, 20 minutes max, or you could do it at night while you're sleeping.
Okay, so that's the one I was thinking about. That's why I said it's a long, okay. But you don't have to do it at night. There's the option to do
There's an
it.
option. Yes.
Okay. See, I knew I was going to learn so much having this interview with you. So, all right, so you're on dialysis, and then at some point, there's a need for a kidney transplant. How did that all come about?
So once you're diagnosed at the point of kidney failure, which is also called end stage renal disease, because I was so young, they encouraged me to go get listed on a transplant list. At that time, I was under Thomas Jefferson University Hospital in Philadelphia, PA's care. And fortunately, they are also a hospital who does transplants. So they it's a long, strenuous evaluation. You have to go through psychological evaluations. You go through numerous labs. And then they also go down your whole entire health history. Fortunately, I'm not a diabetic. The blood pressure was caused by the kidney disease. So I was definitely a great candidate for a kidney transplant. And I also had a very good blood type because my blood type is A. So that's a very common blood type.
Mhm. Okay, so how long do you have to wait before you get this transplant? And what is the waiting like? Like, talk to us about that process.
So the waiting period depends on several different factors. It depends on your blood type. It depends on if you already have living donors. A living donor can come from a family member who's willing to be tested. A living donor can come from, in Pennsylvania, they have something called the Gift of Life program. That's when a perfect stranger makes that decision that they want to be a living organ donor. The wait time, again, like I said, it depends on your blood type. Fortunately for me,
Mm.
because my blood type is A, it's between 2 to 4 years. Now, when it gets to O and O positive, their wait is a lot longer because they can only receive organs from donors who have the exact same type. So, blood
Wow,
type A is pretty much a universal recipient, where blood type O is not a universal recipient, but they can be a universal donor. So, there's a lot
gotcha.
of different factors that can go in to organ transplantation.
Yeah, it sounds like it. What is your emotional and mental state like? Like, are you confident? Are you like what is that? I want people to try to understand, what that's like, to be on this list and literally, waiting for that call.
So because I was so young at the time and being the only child, I pretty much honestly at the moment just did what my parents told me to do. I didn't have time to think. I didn't have time to let it all sink in because it was like on Monday, I was told I needed dialysis. On Tuesday, I was in the operating room. By Wednesday, I was starting training. And then the next
Mm.
week, I was doing it. I did not have a moment to even learn about it, think about it, or anything. I just did what they told me I had to do.
Well, okay. So at the point where you get the call, how old are you when you get your first kidney donation donor?
So that's another different situation. You can get a call as close as the very next day. That doesn't actually mean you're going to get that organ. So that's another thing that can affect someone mentally is you can get 15 calls and that won't be the kidney for you.
Mm.
But I had several different family members that did try to be donors. Unfortunately, one of them was a match, but because like I said the extensive lab work, she ended up not being able to be my donor because she had protein in her urine and protein
Mm.
leaks from your kidneys. And then my
Wow.
other cousin, he was totally not a match. So for my first kidney transplant, it took me 2 years before I got that call. And fortunately, I had a living donor, which was a perfect stranger. He came from the Gift of Life program. He's called an altruistic donor. And we were a perfect match.
Yeah, that was the interview that I heard, and I just found the story to be so amazing. I was just like, wow. Share a little bit about how he came to, I'm sure you've spoken to him, you've stayed connected with him. How is it that, or what was it that kind of made him decide, you know what, I want to be a living donor. I don't necessarily know anyone that needs a kidney, but there was something in him that said, this is what I want to do. So talk about that a little bit.
So, like he said, it came from his Christian background. He just wanted to be able to do something positive during his lifetime. He wanted to make an impact on someone's life. He could have chosen who he wanted to, but he didn't. He went through the Gift of Life program, and whoever was a match, he didn't need to know their background. He didn't need to know anything. All he did it for was to try to save someone's life. And then I'm grateful that I was that one perfect candidate that was able to get his organ. And
Yes.
and what makes it even better is that my first transplant was on Thanksgiving Day.
Definitely something to be grateful for. Absolutely.
Hmm.
So you get the transplant, and at that point, because I'm not clear, I don't know this process. That's why I was like so excited about really understanding how this works.
Hmm.
So you get the transplant, and at that point, as soon as you get the transplant, do you stop dialysis, or is there a process to wean you off? How does that work?
So some people are able to. Fortunately, I was. Some kidneys are called sleeping kidneys when you first get them, which means they're not fully functioning at first. So you still need dialysis to filter it out to get it to wake up. And then if you don't need dialysis anymore, that means once they connect that kidney artery to your artery, you'll immediately start to produce urine. So at that point, that means with successful transplant, dialysis automatically stops, and then the healing begins.
And is that what happened for you, the latter?
Yes, yes,
Wow. Okay. So
yes.
that now are you miracle? That was miracle
No,
one.
yes. Well, I named that one after him, Bob.
Okay.
Yes.
So that was Bob, and
Hmm.
what you said you had two.
Yes.
So what happened with the first transplant?
So with the first plant transplant, again, it started the failing process within 2 years. I kept it for 4 years before it completely failed.
Mm,
Again, like I stated before, I didn't have a diagnosis for why I had kidney disease. So therefore, they didn't know how to treat the failure. They didn't know how to treat it. They just let it go until it completely failed. And then I had
wow.
to, of course, start dialysis back again.
So you start dialysis again. At this point, you're maybe 21, somewhere around there.
25. The first one was
Tw-
at 21.
That's right. That's right. And you were able to maintain it for 4 years. So you're
Yes.
25 now. Were you able to finish school? What happened with all of that?
So I wasn't able to finish college, of course, because I had to come home, but I did go back to technical school. So I am now a certified lead pharmacy technician. So I was able to, I always wanted to be a nurse, but unfortunately, due to my illness, I wasn't able to. So I chose another career that would still allow me to feel like I'm helping to save somebody else's life, just in a different way.
Absolutely. So the first one fails, and you get the second one, and that's the one that you refer to as miracle.
Yes, that's miracle.
Okay. And so how did that come about? Was it through the same process, someone you didn't know and a living donor? Was this a little bit different?
It was a lot different.
Mm,
So leading up to miracle, I actually did 13 years on hemodialysis. So I went into the clinic 3 days a week. I tried to start doing peritoneal dialysis again, but unfortunately, it didn't work the second time because I started getting fluid in my lungs.
mm,
So I had to start hemodialysis at that time. So I ended up doing it for 13 years. The reason why I had to do dialysis for so long this time is because once you get a transplant, you start building up antibodies in your body, and you can immediately reject a transplant at any time.
mm,
So at that point, again, because I didn't have a diagnosis, Thomas Jefferson really couldn't do anything for me anymore, because any transplant that they gave me, I would have automatically failed. So it wasn't until my 13th year on dialysis that I came across a doctor, Dr. O, who told me that he didn't want to see me again another year. So it was at that point that he referred me to Johns Hopkins in Baltimore, Maryland. And he guaranteed me
mm.
that I would get a transplant within 6 months, but I actually got miracle within 5.
Wow, praise God. Like the story
Mm-hmm.
it just keeps getting better and better and better. So
Mm-hmm.
they were able to figure out what the cause was of the kidney failure. And then as a result of that, that's what allowed you to be able to get the next transplant. Because if they had, I'm trying to understand it, because if they had not figured it out, you wouldn't be allowed to get another one because they would assume that it would fail, and they'd rather give it to someone else who would have a greater chance or greater success with it.
Yes. So once you become actively listed on Johns Hopkins transplant list, they automatically put you in a case study. And they go through your background, they go through all your medical history. And it was through that they diagnosed me with an autoimmune disorder called FSGS, which stands for focal segmental glomerulosclerosis syndrome. So basically, what that is a disease that attacks the filters of your kidneys.
Wow. It would seem like it would seem like they would have, prior to 13 years, done everything in terms of a diagnostic assessment to any disease related to the kidney. I don't know. That's what I'm just thinking.
So they did. I was tested for lupus several times. I was tested for another autoimmune disorder called sarcoidosis. That's where you just get inflamed all on the inside. And everything just came back negative.
Wow.
So, and then
Okay.
once you start dialysis, you're technically not even under nephrology care anymore until you get a transplant. At that point, they're only focused on keeping you healthy on dialysis.
Gotcha. Okay. So now you get Miracle, and is it the same where, as soon as you get it, it's working and everything is good, so you stop dialysis again right away?
Yes. So when I got the call for Miracle, I went straight to the hospital. They regular admission, they explained everything to you. And it was at that point that they actually told me my diagnosis. And they let me know that I probably would reject the kidney because my antibody level was at 100%. But don't worry, they have everything I need to treat it. And that's exactly what Thomas Jefferson didn't have. The machine that they use, it's called plasmapheresis. I can explain that also a little later if you would like.
No, you can explain it now.
Okay, so plasmapheresis, they pretty much remove the old plasma out of your body and they give you new plasma. So that pulls the antibodies out because the antibodies are in your plasma that's connected to your blood. So they give you your blood back and then they give you clean plasma back. And every treatment, they pull more and more antibodies out of your body. So that's the way of getting rid of them. So they're not attacking the kidney. So if you kind of think about a city with a gang and you're from like the Bloods and I guess it's the Crips, if you're in a town where the Crips are at and you a Blood and you come in, what's going to happen? You're not from there. They're going to automatically attack you. So that's sort of kind of how I can explain the kidney and the antibody. So the kidney's not mine. It's coming from someone else. So my body automatically goes into attack mode. So in order to get the attack mode to calm down and go to sleep, they got to remove them a little at a time. So it can take as many treatments as it needs, which is wonderful because there's no time frame on it. They, as long as it's working, they'll continue to do the treatment until it's all gone. They're all rested, and that kidney is able to function properly.
That makes sense. Listen, this is so good. We're going to take a quick break, and when we
Okay.
come back, we're going to finish off this story. So we'll
Okay.
be back after this break. I have a question for you. Are you tired of being stuck? Are you tired of year after year making goals and plans to accomplish something and it just doesn't seem to happen? Are you tired of not being supported in your dreams and your goals and your vision? Well, I have an opportunity for you. I want you to consider becoming a member of Success Arise Academy. This is a membership that is designed with you in mind. It provides education, inspiration, and transformation for you to be able to achieve those goals and become everything it is that God has created you to be. This is a membership program designed for women to be able to also come together and encourage and support one another. So if this sounds like something that you're looking to be a part of, I want you to visit www.successarise.com because it is time for you to move from stuck to unstoppable. All right, welcome back. We're here this morning with Dawn Cunning, and she's sharing her amazing story and testimony of being a two-time kidney transplant recipient. Not one time, but two times. And each time, you just know that God was all in the midst of the situation. Outside of Dawn, I don't really know anyone personally that has, had to go through this process, but I can't even imagine what it must be like to have to, go through that process of dialysis 3 times a week, or as you explained, if you're doing it at home, to have to go through that process of doing it at home. And so her strength and her courage to me is just unbelievable. And now she's gotten to the point where she realizes that all that she has gone through hasn't just been about her, but it's to the point where now she is willing to come and share her story and be able to give information and encouragement to others. So the one thing that I want to talk to you about is organ donation,
Okay.
because there's so many, I feel like, questions regarding it.
Mm-hmm.
So many people misunderstand it. I feel like for a lot of Christians, a lot of believers, they're not clear as to whether or not it's something that would be acceptable. So there's just so many myths around it. Can you just give us some information and some general feedback about the process of being an organ donor, specifically, for kidney disease, but if you know more in general about it as well, because you mentioned, as a kidney transplant recipient, you can have a living donor. That's not necessarily the case for every issue. So talk to us a little bit about that.
So living donation is definitely important. You have two kidneys. You technically only need one kidney to live a healthy life. And statistics have shown that living kidney donors actually live longer than healthy individuals in the end.
Wow.
With the living kidney donor, it's a lot safer for the kidney recipient. It also is a better option because living kidneys last longer than deceased kidneys, because living kidneys are coming from an individual that still has regular blood flow. When there's a deceased donor, of course, when they're removing the kidney, it loses blood flow. So with the deceased donor, they have to get the organ from the deceased individual, and then they have to transport it to wherever it's going to its recipient. Where with living donation, that living donor is in the exact same hospital and right next door in a different operating room. So it's going straight from that individual right into the recipient. There's a lot of people. There's over 100 plus people right now currently waiting on some type of organ transplant. African Americans in general are one of the highest races who are now waiting for a kidney transplant, because most people think that kidney disease only comes from diabetes or alcohol, and that is not true at all. There are several different factors that can cause kidney disease: blood pressure, heart disease, autoimmune disorders, just like what I have. It is not always because you caused it. It could just be an unfortunate situation that happens in your lifetime. And there's a lot of young people now who are also waiting. So living donation is very, very important. And it's appreciated from people like me.
Absolutely. So, if someone is interested in becoming a living donor, what is that process like? Where would they even start?
So they can start with their nearest hospital and they can ask if they do have a transplant department, If they don't, then they can always refer them to the nearest hospital that has a transplant department. They can either sign up as an altruistic donor, which is a perfect stranger to the recipient, or if they know someone that they want to be a donor for, they can let them know that they're here to be a donor for that specific person. And the recipient will not know that they are there. They do not share that information until you're at the point that you are a perfect match and that transplant is going to happen. So you won't disappoint them if you're not a match. They also now have what's called a sharing match, where you may be a match for someone else in an entire different state, and you're not a match for the person that you want to be, and it could be opposite for someone else. You guys can swap donors, and you can have different recipients. So they offer a lot of different options now that they didn't offer years ago, so that so many people aren't waiting, and not even waiting as long as they used to have to wait.
That's great. What about for someone who is like, well, I I heard what she said
Mhm.
about, maybe being able to live a longer and healthier life.
Mhm.
I'm not really too comfortable with that, but they say, in the event that something does happen, you know, is it as simple as just indicating, on your driver's license? What is that process like?
So that also can happen as well. If you don't want to be a living donor, you can also become an organ donation, like you said, through putting it on your license. Basically, you just go through your driver's license location, and then they give you paperwork, and you can fill that out as well. And the myth about if you go to the hospital, they won't resuscitate you, that is a myth. It's legal. They have to. Just because you're an organ donor does not mean that you won't get the same treatment as if you weren't.
Thank you, because I was going to ask you, why do you think that people are reluctant to even consider it? Is it because you think they're just scared, or do you think it's other factors?
So I think it has a lot to do with not being educated on it. I think that's the biggest thing. So that's why during the month of March, I try my best to educate as much as I can, just to let people know that it could be your family member next that needs an organ, and you may be that only person that's a match. You can help save their life. So there's a lot of different websites. There's a lot of different resources. The National Kidney Foundation, nkf.com, they have a website. The American Kidney Fund, they have a website. There's a lot of resources out there now than was before, where you can get information on becoming an organ donor.
So you're a part of an organization. Which organization are you a part of?
I am a part of the American Kidney Fund. So I am now a certified kidney health coach, and I'm also an ambassador with the American Kidney Fund.
So as a certified kidney health coach, what are your roles and your responsibilities?
To help raise awareness and educate on the importance of organ donation, and also to educate on kidney disease.
Okay. Because when I hear coach, do you ever interact with other recipients, like almost like as a coach, as an encourager? Does that happen?
Yes, all the time. I currently now have 5 people that I've taken under my wing who are currently on dialysis. Some of them are candidates for transplants, and some of them aren't. So I have to do more encouraging with the people who aren't candidates, because dialysis will be for the rest of their life. So I help them
Right.
with nutrition. I help them with their treatments. I help them with understanding the process of becoming actively listed. Sometimes I just talk to them through their treatments, even if they just need someone to talk to.
So you said something when you said, you could be on dialysis for the rest of your life. I guess for some people, that is the reality of the situation, is that they could spend a significant amount of time on dialysis if they're not able to receive a transplant. Is
Yes.
there like a limit to how many years or
So
is it?
it all depends on your health. So there's a lot of seniors who have heart disease. If your body can't withstand the surgery, because the surgery can last from 4 to 8 hours, and some maybe even more. It all depends on the cause of their kidney disease. So some people can't withstand the to last, on anesthesia. So a lot of people with heart disease, their body can't take the length of the surgery. So they
Mm.
won't, unfortunately, they won't be able to get a transplant. Also, the biggest thing is compliance. You have to be compliant with your dialysis schedule. Your lab work has to show that you are compliant. You have to be, or you won't even get accepted on a kidney transplant list. Most kidney transplant lists, you can't smoke. You have to sign waivers. And even after you're transplanted, if you're still not compliant, they can kick you out of their transplant.
So what does compliance mean? Of course, I guess there's certain things that you have to do. There's certain things that you should not be doing.
Right. So treatment normally inpatiently, like I said, is 3 days a week. You have to come for your treatment. You have to stay your entire treatment. Your diet. When you're on hemodialysis, there are certain things that you have to pay attention to. Your potassium levels, your phosphorus levels. If those levels are constantly out of whack, that's another indication that you're not being compliant to your diet. Another thing is if your blood pressure constantly drops too low, that means you have too much fluid. So you're drinking too much. There's also a fluid
Mm.
restriction when you're on dialysis. And if that's the case, that means if you're not being obedient on dialysis, how will they ever trust you with that organ? They're trying to save your life. If they see that you're not trying to save your life, then why would they help you?
Makes perfect sense. I mean, it's harsh, but it
Mhm.
absolutely makes sense, especially when you consider how many people are waiting, to
Mhm.
receive the gift. It is a gift. That's why I love the name of the organization, Gift of Life. It is a gift.
Mhm.
And so you don't want someone who is going to abuse the gift. You want someone who is going to take care of the gift. So you
Absolutely.
also have your own organization and something that you do as well.
Yes. So I started a social media group entitled Kidney Strong. And I pretty much do the same thing there. I try to educate. I share daily recipes for breakfast, lunch, dinner, shakes that are all kidney dialysis approved, heart healthy, high protein, because protein is a big deal on dialysis. You need a lot of protein so you can stay strong and energetic.
I have to laugh right there when you said about, you talked about the food because, we're like I said, we're friends on social media and I see some of your posts. So the other thing is Dawn, look, first of all, you need to know she loves to cook, right? So she loves to cook and sometimes I look at her food and I'm like, that's the food of somebody who had kidney issues, but now it makes sense because you said you have to have the protein. Because,
Mhm.
she'll have these plates with all this meat on it. And I'm just like, that's a lot. But also, I think when you first, because of course, I don't know when you got the first transplant, but for the second one, I'm guessing that you also have to eat a pretty hefty meal to kind of build your body back up.
Yes, and also because a lot of the medications that I take, they actually can tear this lining of my stomach up. So I have to make sure I eat whole meals.
Gotcha. So you just mentioned something else. So it's not like because now you have this transplant and everything seems to be working well that you still have medication that you have to take.
Yes, medication that I have to take for a lifetime.
Okay. You still have to, how often do you have to go and get checked out?
So right now I'm up to getting my labs done once a month.
Okay. Is there anything else?
No, it's just lab work because I'm doing so well. If I start having issues, then they'll start running more tests. But because I'm 2 years in now and I'm doing so well, it's just lab work.
That put a smile on my face. I'm so happy to hear that. Is there anything that you would like to say or share before we finish up?
Again, I can't stress enough about organ donation and how important it is to become a donor. Again, there are over 100,000 plus people who are awaiting some type of organ transplant. Our bodies are full of organs that we don't even need while we're living. And if you are able to help someone and you're healthy enough to help someone, I really beg you to consider it. There's a lot of information. If you don't know where to find it, Gwen can kindly tell you how to get in touch with me. She has all my information, and I am willing to help you out to get any information that you need. If you want to be more educated on kidney disease, I can help you there as well. I have no problem, but I still can't stress the importance of organ donation.
Well, guess what, Dawn? I'm going to let you give them the information. So, if someone is interested in just following your story or learning more about organ donation or kidney disease, how can they find you?
So you can find me on Facebook under Dawn Nicole. Nicole is spelled Nacole. And again, on my social group site, it's called Kidney Strong. I am the only one on there with that social group name, so I'm easy to find.
Okay. Listen, I just want to thank you. I want to just praise God for all that He has done, all that He is doing, and all that He is going to do in you and through you. Um, I praise God that you're coming out of that shell and you are ready to now share your story, like I said, to educate and to be able to be an encouragement to other people. You know my story. You know that we don't go through what we go through for ourselves. Our
Mhm.
testimonies become tools for us to be able to help other people, to educate other people, to inspire other people. And you definitely do that for me. I just need you to know that. I may not say it, but you are always smiling. I don't know that I've ever, even in the waiting, even in the process of dialysis, I don't recall you ever complaining. I
I
don't
try.
recall you ever coming on and being sad. You just have always had such a positive energy and a positive outlook, and your faith has always just been so strong. So you are definitely an inspiration for me, and I thank you, and I know you are for others. So I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you sharing your story. And again, I look forward to all that God is going to be able to do in you and through you. So thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. Man, that was really a great interview with Dawn. Again, I'm so proud of her. But now we're going to move on to another segment of the show. This is the part of the show where we talk about Kingdom Purpose TV news and what's going on with Kingdom Purpose TV and Kingdom Purpose Radio. I'm excited to announce new shows that will be on the radio platform for Kingdom Purpose, and they are as follows. New shows coming to the radio are Danny B Show with Daniel Brown, which will be airing on Fridays at 4 p.m. That's Fridays at 4 p.m. Also new to radio will be Nat Grant with Elder Nathaniel Clark. And you can catch that show on Mondays at 3 p.m. Next up is Unshackled. I like that. Unshackled with Elder Calvin Barnes. You can catch him Saturdays at 4 p.m. Next up is Worker in Progress with Pastor Charles Ditz. You can catch Pastor Ditz on Tuesdays at 11 a.m. And last but not least, because there are always new programs coming to radio as well as TV, RPM Talk Radio with Pastor Sabrina Hamilton and Elder Ryan Hamilton will be coming on Fridays at 8 p.m. So take out a moment and check out those new radio shows on Kingdom Radio. And new to the Kingdom Purpose TV platform is the Hour Power with Pastor Johnny Quiller. And that will be coming on Thursdays at 8 p.m. And so, other news that's happening on the KPTV platform. I've been talking about it. I've shown slides about it. Is we're launching into VR, virtual reality. Yes, I'm excited that Kingdom Purpose TV, we will have our regular platform, but we're also going to be launching and moving into the virtual platform. Bishop Matthews has spent so much time putting this together. I've had the opportunity to go in and check it out. It's a little bit of a learning curve, but it's a great experience. I'm really excited about all that's going to be able to take place on that platform. And I'm excited that this past Thursday, there is a show that will be coming to the virtual reality platform featuring myself and two of the other wonderful ladies from Kingdom Purpose TV, Miss Shakita Jackson and Miss Makia Lee. We will be doing a show in the VR world called Sister Talk. So you can kind of guess by the title. It's three women that come from slightly different eras, but we're going to be talking about different things that impact women. We're going to be talking candidly. We want it to be a place that people can come and learn and grow and share, because VR, like, it's interactive. Like, you can have conversations with people that are in the audience. It's going to be an amazing experience. Like I said, we just launched it, and I'm excited about what's going to happen with that platform. So you can check us out in the VR world. We're going to be doing some amazing show with some great topics, and I hope you check us out. So that is what I have for you for this week for Kingdom Purpose News. And up next, I'm going to be talking about what's going on in the kingdom. So recently, Tamala Mann was honored with two NAACP Image Awards, and they were for her new album Overcomer, as well as her new single that was recently released. So she was honored by the NAACP and was able to take home two Image Awards. So congratulations and kudos to Tamala Mann for those two recent awards from the NAACP. And also, in more recent news, do you remember Byron Cage? Yes, Byron Cage, the guy that put out all that amazing music, gospel icon Byron Cage. Well, he has decided that he is or has released a talk show called The Byron Cage Show. So this show was aired on March 3rd, and it's going to be coming on Thursdays at 9 p.m. And you want to check it out. He's going to have some exciting, amazing guests from the gospel world coming on to the platform. It's going to be so everyone can catch this. This is a great thing. It's going to be coming on his Facebook Live channel, as well as his Instagram live channel. So if you're on Facebook or you're on Instagram, you'll be able to go and check out the shows on Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, I shouldn't have to explain who Byron Cage is, but just in case you don't know or you kind of forgot, Byron Cage is the one that put out the song "The Presence of the Lord is Here," one of my favorites. It's a little long, but it's really, really a good song. Yes, the presence of the Lord is here. Let's see. Let me think of some other ones. Got to look at my notes real quick. I just kind of went blank with it, but he has so much music out there. I will bless the Lord. That was another one of my favorite songs. So check him out. Like I said, he will be doing it on Instagram as well as on Facebook Live. So that is what's going on in the kingdom from Kingdom Purpose News for this week, hosted by me, Gwen Goolsby Tillery. And My interviews the last couple of weeks have been going, and I haven't really been able to sometimes go through the news the way I wanted to, or share just like what's going on in the kingdom. And I haven't even necessarily been able to close out with a word of inspiration. But I just want to encourage someone this week that, and I'm going to play out one of Byron Cage's songs. What I want you to know is that no matter what we're going through, no matter what it looks like, there's a name that we can call on, and it's the name of Jesus. We are just coming out of, just starting to come out of COVID and all that we've gone through in this pandemic. And we come out of COVID, and then we find that there's a war going on in Ukraine. And sometimes we can feel disconnected because it's so far away. But please, let's keep them in prayer. Lifted up in prayer each and every day as part of our prayer for the world and for the nations. But not so far away, even here, that has impacted us with gas prices being absolutely outrageous. But in general, sometimes things could just seem a bit overwhelming and just like it's just too much going on, and you don't know where to go, you don't know where to turn. I just want to remind you that we can always call on the name of Jesus. And you may not feel like he's hearing you, or you may not feel like he's answering you. But trust me, God hears your prayers and he answers your prayers in his time. And guess what? I thank God for this, in the way he sees best to answer those prayers. So don't lose hope. Just keep seeking God and keep going to him. The word tells us that we should pray without ceasing. That means that every day, throughout our day, as issues arise, we're looking and we're seeking God to be able to get us through. See, prayer is not about just what gets answered through the prayer, but prayer also helps to sustain us to be able to hold on until that prayer gets answered God's way. So I just wanted to remind you that there is a name, and the name is Jesus, and we can always call on him. And rest assured, he hears us and he will definitely answer us. So I thank you for tuning into this week's episode of Kingdom News, hosted by me, Gwen Goolsby Tillery. I hope that you were able to learn something from the segment with Dawn as she talked about the process of being a two-time kidney transplant survivor. I mean, God was just all in the midst of that story. So I thank you, and I will see you next week. Be blessed.